The first part of this is going to be really simple. I'm just going to be going and setting things up in various parts along the path, and I'm going to be testing a couple different things. Cinematic video with the Osmo Pocket versus the Hero 9. I also brought along some ND filters just to see if I could get a little better look. The idea behind this was to go onto the trail, do some vlogging, but do it in a cinematic way. Now, cinematic gets thrown around here and there. My whole idea for this on cinematic is just to focus on a few settings, and the rest of it, I'm not really going to worry about. Because if you look at cinematography, it's for cinema, and they spend a lot of money on that, and there's a lot of layers to making something cinematic. It's not just settings. You have to look at the angle of your light. You have to look at the speed to do things in, some of the voiceovers or some music or some sounds. All of that contributes to the cinematic setting that you've got. But the thing of it is, each layer brings in a little more complexity, and in the end, you have costs involved, real world costs. So when I think about cinematic, I'm really looking at it in keeping it simple, but also having a little bit of polish. And a lot of this is because as a solo creative entrepreneur, I want to have that polish without a lot of the expense. And so that's where I'm coming from. And really, it's just doing a little bit of testing and seeing these two pieces of equipment, the Hero and the Pocket. Can I achieve that look and feel? And what's the difference between the two? One of the more important questions is, can I weave these together? Meaning, if I use one or the other, am I going to have a big headache in making the footage look similar enough? So there's not a jarring difference when you go and you do some B-roll from one and then some talking with another and B-roll again. Are you going to have that jarring difference between the two, or can you weave kind of a similarity between them? Now, that's the ideal. I have to say there were some failures, and I'm hoping that you get some ideas from this for yourself. So first, what I did is I looked at the ND filter and see how that could look. Here is the Pocket 2 with a quick test on that. Liberation is cool because regardless of the fanatics in Washington, D.C., or whatever's going on with algorithm updates and otherwise, most freedom is from being an entrepreneur and having a business where you can go and have different income streams, obviously. So you'll see one of the problems is it has that vignette. And actually, the how-to guy, which I've been watching, had warned me in some comments about just that thing. Because some of the cheaper filters have that vignetting. Which basically means if you don't want that in there, you're going to have to crop it out. Now, in this one right here, yeah, I actually had that vignetting, but because of the color, it kind of blended in. But for the most part, you're going to see that, and you'll have to end up cropping it out. So in the link in the description, I'll show you the one that I got, and definitely, I have to do some more testing, but I'm thinking that this probably isn't a good option. One of the cool things that I found out is that tracking works much better within the app. Here's some examples of that. Now, it's funny because if you go into the GoPro, you can see that there's actually a cinematic setting, meaning you can just go and have it be cinematic with their settings. And here's what that looks like. Okay, so the other part of freedom that's really cool is it doesn't take a large audience. I mean, you've heard about the idea of 1,000 true fans. Well, it turns out that Kevin Kelly, he was like, I wasn't serious about like the exact number of 1,000 true fans. The whole idea isn't 1,000, it's the true fans part, and you get a critical tipping point for which those fans basically support you as you support them. Meaning you still have that GoPro look, and I really don't think this is necessarily cinematic. I think there's some things that are missing, but I wanted to kind of take their profile and see what and pit it against what I've got and see if it worked out all right. Now, one of the benefits of the GoPro is that it has profiles, meaning you can click from one profile to the next, and all those settings are saved. Pocket 2 doesn't have that. You basically have to go in and change your settings each time, which is kind of a bummer. And this is why, because when I went in and played with slow-mo, and then I went back out of slow-mo to regular video, it saved all the settings from the slow-mo, meaning I no longer had 1/50. I no longer had 100 ISO. And I also had the D-Cine The D-Cine profile, however you say that, the D-Cine profile that they've got, it's a profile log that they basically try to give you as much information as possible so that you can basically go into editing and have more information, and you can play around with that and get a really cool look. This is supposed to be the way to go. But really, for me, I wanted to avoid all that because I didn't want to go into editing. I didn't want to take all the time to play with that. So unfortunately, I had all this footage, but it all was in that profile mode. Still, it was interesting to see the differences between the two and kind of play with what could be cinematic. If you have the same exact settings, 1/50, 100 ISO, and so on, you still have these profiles that are giving you color grading information that are not the same. And that's why a lot of people will go and have these profile logs, because then you can make it all the same. So So in the end, the whole cinematic vlogging thing really was a fail because I didn't get the cinematic look I was going for. And I ended up getting footage that I really would have a hard time blending together without doing a lot of work. So in the end, is it really worth it? For me, sometimes it's going to be worth it, but not all the time. I mean, having a cinematic vlog for certain things is great. But I think for the most part, just going and vlogging is going to be what you want to do. And getting some look and feel is good, but to go all out cinematic, I think is not realistic for the most part. So that's my conclusion. What do you think? Is it worth doing a cinematic vlog every single time? Or are you going to find there's certain situations where you're going to do it and others not? If you found this helpful, give it a like. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.